So good to see you all this morning and to be together in worship. And I add my welcome to you, especially on behalf of the whole church. If you're guests with us, we welcome you and are glad you're worshiping with us today. We're in a series called the United Methodist Way. As you know, if you've been here for the first few parts of the series, you know that this coming May is General Conference. It happens every 4 years, the General Conference of the United Methodist denomination. This past week, I was in Portland where the General Conference will be held. It was a gathering, lasted a couple of days, of those who are heads of the delegations from the various annual conferences, gathered for what's called the pre-General Conference briefing. That also happens every 4 years in January before the conference happens, to discuss, to talk about what the main issues are that will be coming up, and to have a look at the convention center and to orient ourselves and to prepare for the work that will be ours in May. And one of the themes that came up over and over again was that we share so much in common. That as United Methodists, we are Wesleyan Christians, and that means that we as United Methodists have certain things that we emphasize and ways of being together, and things that we do that we think are important as United Methodists. Those were the things that we emphasize. What is it that unites us and brings us together? And I hope to do the same in today and next week as we complete that sermon, but I hope that I've done some of that in the course of this sermon series. Today I want to talk about the United Methodist Way as a way of giving, and maybe a better way to put that is a way of stewardship. That is, a way of being stewards, caretakers of all that God has entrusted to us for the time that we are here. How are we as stewards? What is our way of giving and of managing that which God has entrusted to us? Our theme for this stewardship campaign, as you know, every year we have a time when we emphasize stewardship, is why I give. This is why I give. That's the theme. Last year the theme was, this is why we give. There's a subtle difference there, but the difference is important. It's a difference intended to focus each one of us on the question that pertains to each one of us. Why do I give? Why is giving important for me? Why is giving important in my life? That's the question for each one of us. We talk often about what our money accomplishes. As you know, it takes money to be in ministry as a church. And that money covers all sorts of ministries locally and throughout our community and throughout the globe. Makes all of that possible. We talk about that a lot. We've emphasized that a lot in our stewardship campaigns. But today I want to emphasize something different, and that is what giving means to each one of us, what it means in our lives. And not just giving, but what the place of money and possessions means in our lives. Some people say that we talk about money too much. Well, I don't think we talk about it enough, really. I mean, you look at the words of Jesus. He had 38 parables that he told. 16 of them had to do with how we handle this issue of money and possessions in our lives, the role that it has, and what our possessions can accomplish through us, but also what they can do to us and in us as well. It's an important spiritual issue. And not just in the teachings of Jesus, but throughout the Bible. 2,000 verses or so have to do with this issue of how we handle stuff and possessions in our own lives and the role of giving. John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist movement, had 3 simple principles for giving, and he said that they are these. We should earn all we can. We should save all we can. And we should give all we can. Simple. Earn all you can, save all you can, give all you can. He had some qualifications. In your earning, be sure that as you earn all you can, you don't harm yourself. That is, that you make sure that earning all you can doesn't overtake your life, that it doesn't harm other people, that it doesn't harm relationships, that it doesn't harm what you do to make money doesn't harm others. But he said, with those qualifications, earn all you can. Work hard. Do good things and earn all you can. The second thing he said was save all you can, and by that Wesley did not mean simply saving up a nest egg, saving for the future, saving for retirement. He meant within your own life, within your own thinking and the way you live your life, figure out where is the line between enough and excess. What does it take for you to have a fulfilled and fulfilling life and to provide for your family and to do the things that contribute to your family and community, provide the basic necessities? What's the difference between that and excess? Excess that can overtake your life, it can lessen community, it can become the one in the driver's seat. Where is that line? That's a difficult one. And so when Wesley said, save all you can, he was getting at that issue of how much is enough. There was a conference on alternative economics, and after one of the sessions, a group of people gathered for dinner, and around the dinner conversation, this issue came up. One person in the group had shared that he spent several summers at a monastery, a week out of the summer, that is, at a monastery, in a very small room, a bed, a table, a lamp, and a chair. That's it in the room. Just thinking and meditating and praying and journaling and walking the grounds of the monastery. Food was provided by the monks there, a silent order of monks, so it was a very quiet retreat. He said the last time he did it, which was not long before this conversation, he said that it occurred to him to ask the question, what if this is all I had? A chair, a table, a lamp, and a bed. Would it be enough? And that sparked this conversation. What's enough? Well, you would need some means to make a living. I mean, the monks aren't going to be there. You don't live in a monastery. None of us do. You've got to make a living, so somebody has to put food on the table, and so that requires tools, whether that's a computer or farming implements or whatever the tools might be. You've got to have tools. You've got to have something to work with. You have to have some paperwork. Everybody has to have that, whether you like it or not. And so there would be files. And someone else said, well, you've got to have a phone, and you need at least one more chair. You don't want to be by yourself. You want to have company. And if you've got a family, you need more furniture than that. And on the conversation went. And one of the participants reported that the longer the conversation went on, the more difficult it became to find that line between enough and excess. And they never did find the line, of course. It's too fuzzy. Got fuzzier and fuzzier as time went on. They couldn't do it in one conversation. I certainly can't do it in a sermon. And I can't do it for you, and you can't do it for me. Each of us has to find where is that place in our lives. And what does it mean to save all we can through a kind of simplicity of living and careful planning? And then finally, Wesley said, give all you can. And it's that one we're focusing on, really. It's give all you can. Jesus had a lot to say about this, as I mentioned earlier. And in our passage for today, he tells us, first of all, that giving is a way of investing in that which is durable. It lasts. Giving is investing ourselves, our time, our talents, our abilities, what influence and power we have, and our money in that which lasts. It's durable. We all know the importance of durability. We talk about it all the time. We want a car that's durable. We want Anything we buy to be durable. We want our relationships, our friendships to be durable. Even a child knows, a very young child understands very early the importance of durability. One father learned this when his little 3.5, 4-year-old daughter said to him as he was going out the door to run an errand, "Daddy, bring me back something." "What do you want me to bring you?" he asked. And she replied, "Something that will last forever." Because she knew toys break, batteries run down. Some of those toys that she had, they didn't hold much interest for her anymore. Nothing seemed to last. Bring me back something that will last forever. And what Jesus is saying when he says, don't lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust can eat them and where thieves can break in and steal them, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust can eat them and where thieves cannot break in and steal them. They endure. They last. What is it that lasts? What is it that lasts is what we invest in people. How we give ourselves in ministry to others. The difference we make in the lives of other people through our giving and through our time and through our service and through our commitments and all that we have and all that we are. That's what lasts. That's what endures. You know, I love to read epitaphs because epitaphs are ways that the departed want to express something that people will read over and over again and know something about that person. Some of them are humorous. Some of them are very serious. The one that I particularly appreciate, he asked that these words be inscribed on his tombstone. What I spent, I lost. What I saved, I left. What I gave, I have. What was he saying? He was saying that what he gave was durable. It lasted, far outlived him because he invested in the lives of people. He invested himself in others. He made a difference in his world through his giving. So Jesus called us to invest in that which lasts, that which is durable. He also warned his followers, warns us, that money is a very good servant, but it's a terrible master. And he said in this section of the Sermon on the Mount, no one can serve two masters. You will love the one and hate the other, be devoted to one, despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth, he said. And it's because the place of God in our lives can never be replaced with money. In fact, when we put it in that place, it's disastrous. Money becomes our master, and it is a terrible taskmaster, but it is a great servant. Money is a great servant. It can accomplish great good. And so Jesus is warning us to make sure we know, is money in the driver's seat or is God in the driver's seat? After whom do I order my life, and who am I following? It is a very personal question. Why I give is a personal question that has great consequences beyond our own person. And Jesus points us in that direction. This is why I give, because Christ has called me to give in that way, to invest in that which is eternal, and to give of myself in a way that endures. This is why we give. You know, Jesus said we lay up for ourselves treasures in heaven and not on earth. And why do we do that? Because where your treasure is, your heart will follow. That's where your heart will be. Why do we give? We give because we know that where we give, our heart follows that place. Now, we know it works the other way too. that we give to where our heart is. My heart is with my children, and so I want to give to provide for my children. My heart is with my grandchildren. I want to give to my grandchildren. My heart is with my dogs, and so we spend a lot on our dogs because I love them. I care for them. My heart is in a lot of places, and so I give to those places. But it works the other way too, and that's what Jesus was saying. He was saying that where our treasure goes, our heart follows. And that to give intentionally in the places where God would have us go, and to give intentionally in ways that extend the ministry of Christ, is to go ahead of our hearts, and our hearts will follow in those places, and our spiritual lives will be uplifted. Because where your treasure is, there is your heart also. Susan and I have a physical trainer. We have a physical trainer that works with us at the gym 3 days a week. We leave the house, we get up at 5 in the morning to go and do this. Why do we pay this person? Because we would not get up at 5 in the morning and go do that. Because where our treasure is, there will our heart be also. And if we wake up in the morning and our heart is just not in it, our treasure's over there. And so we go. And our heart drags us there. And we're glad we went. Now that's a silly illustration, but that's the way it works. Our heart follows our treasure. I give because I want my heart to be in the right places, to be devoted to the right things. I give because I want my heart to go where God is at work. That's why I give. And that's what Jesus called us to do, and who Jesus called us to be. So I want to close with a couple of things. One is John Wesley's a sermon on the use of money, where Wesley makes this distinction between money as a servant, money as a master, and how much money can accomplish for good. He said this, he said, "Money is an excellent gift of God, answering the noblest ends. In the hands of his children, it is food for the hungry and drink for the thirsty. It's clothing for the naked. It gives to the traveler and the stranger where to lay his head. By it we may supply the place of a husband to the widow and of a father to the fatherless. We may be a defense for the oppressed, a means of health to the sick, of ease to them that are in pain. It may be as eyes to the blind and as feet to the lame, yea, a lifter up from the gates of death." That's what money can do when money is a servant, Wesley said. The other thing I want to share is from Stephen King. I don't quote Stephen King very often. Stephen King, the very successful author of horror stories, horror novels, who also, if you read his novels carefully, I've read a bunch of them, you will begin to notice that there are themes in there about goodness. There are themes in there that really are very consistent with the Christian faith, and in interviews he has said as much. In 2001, he gave the commencement address at Vassar College, and I want to read a portion of what he said to that group. It's a little bit lengthy, but it's so good. He acknowledged in that speech that he had had a terrible accident 2 years earlier in which he was almost killed. You may remember that. He was walking along the road and a minivan hit him and severely injured him. And he talked about that, but he also talked about the earning potential of the graduates that were sitting before him. And here's what he said. "Well, I'll tell you one thing you're not going to do, and that's take it with you. I'm worth, I don't know exactly how many millions of dollars, and a couple of years ago I found out what you can't take it with you means. I found out while I was lying in the ditch at the side of a country road covered with mud and blood and with the tibia of my right leg poking out through the side of my jeans. I had a MasterCard in my wallet, but when you're lying in the ditch with broken glass in your hair, no one accepts MasterCard. We all know that life is ephemeral, but on that particular day and in the months that followed, I got a painful but extremely valuable look at life's simple backstage truths. We come in naked and broke. We may be dressed when we go out, but we're just as broke. And how long in between? Just the blink of an eye. King went on to discuss what the graduates could do with their earnings in the time that they had in that eye blink. And then he said this: for a short period, you and your contemporaries will wield enormous power. The power of the economy, the power of the hugest military industrial complex in the history of the world, the power of the American society that you will create in your own image. It's your time, your moment. Don't miss it. And then he added, of all the power which will shortly come into your hands, the greatest is undoubtedly the power of compassion, the ability to give. We have enormous resources in this country, resources you yourselves will soon command, but they are only yours on loan. I came here to talk about charity, and I want you to think about it on a large scale. Should you give away what you have? Of course you should. I want you to consider making your lives one long gift to others. And why not? All you want to get at the getting place, none of that is real. All that lasts is what you pass on. And the rest is smoke and mirrors. And then he ended with this. Giving isn't about the receiver or the gift, but the giver. It's for the giver. One doesn't open one's wallet to improve the world, although it's nice when that happens. One does it to improve oneself. I give because it's the only concrete way I have of saying that I'm glad to be alive and that I can earn my daily bread doing what I love. Giving is a way of taking the focus off the money we make and putting it back where it belongs, on the lives we lead, the families we raise, the communities which nurture us. I wonder if some folks there who heard that thought, that's the scariest thing Stephen King ever wrote. Perhaps the most profound, and very much in sync with what it means to be a giver. It's my prayer for you and for me that we will go from this place and we'll think about, where is that line for me in my life? That we'll go from this place and we'll think about, why do I give and what difference does it make, not only in the world, not only in the community or the church, but in my life? And what does it mean for me to be a giver? Amen.